Okay, so we're doing this on Saturday, and it is the King's Coronation, which you may hear currently playing from Westminster Abbey on our background music system, which we currently have tuned to Radio 4. That's BBC Radio 4 for people out of the country. So I want the customer to know that his son's Commtron CB40F was being done the day of the coronation, because this is the final set of this customer's. So I kind of looked at the customer's notes, but they've gone in one ear and out of the other kind of thing, because we'll just go through as usual. And see what happens. Now, there's been some mentions lately that we've had a hum on the sound, a very small hum on the sound, and I think I've tracked it down. It's not electrical at all. I haven't got OCD, but they're not straight. Is it the 7th today? I don't know. We'll fill that in later. You know, if you don't have a telly and you don't take newspapers, yeah, sometimes goes over your head. And I work 7 days a week anyway. You have to when you're self-employed. And guess what? When you're a church organist, you're definitely on Sunday. I'm very, very busy this week, and there's a lot of church services because of the events today. So we'll fill this in. It's Commtron CB40F. It is box 44, set 6 of 6. October 1981, so this was manufactured a month before CB was legal, so you know they've got a bit of a... Now we've got that power lead to do, that's not acceptable. So we'll do that, and we'll turn this into a proper power lead, which will cut his cost rather than having a full power lead. So that will get passed on to Mr. Chippy. He will earn 89 pence out of that. You know, it's all right saying you people have to earn 12 quid an hour, but if we charge the customer the kind of time these things take, we wouldn't be getting the jobs to go and buy a new, I think the word is crappy set, because most of them are, to be frank, aren't they? Let's be frank about it. That doesn't mean all old sets were good, because they certainly weren't. And this Maxon chassis was certainly mediocre, but it's proved to be reliable. And they usually do 4 watts and they work well. And these days, the problem with these was receive, not bleed over, but it's desense. So if you have somebody on an adjacent channel, 2 doors away, it robs the sensitivity of the set, so you lose your contact on receive. So that's the thing. But it doesn't matter these days. Right. Now he's sent the side bobbles with that. That's dangerous, because I've still got the Mustang on Mr. Chippy's bench, Mustang 3000 from this customer. It's still improving the power lead. I think they're about to put his metal hat on. I've not seen these colours before. So like the customer's other one, this isn't going to have the S-meter preset, and it's going to stay that way, unless of course somebody's modified it, which I hope they haven't, because it's nice for things to be as original as possible, even if things came around later which were a slight improvement. You can end up otherwise with loads and loads of sets modified and not working how they did originally, and it's a shame. That, I tell you what, I've never thought of doing that because I wouldn't need to do that. We do the plug and socket because we are importers for those. But the way that has been tie wrapped through its centre on that chop block, this is the best I've ever seen a bodged in power lead. It really is. So well done, that man or woman. I just don't know any ladies in the two-way radio business. I mean, I've been in a two-way radio since '85, and as an organ builder, I've been doing that since 1980. And I only knew of one female organ builder whose name was Viola. And guess what? Her father was an organ builder, so I think he made her be an organ builder. But she was carrying a 8-foot-long board-on pipe and fell and hurt herself, and that was the end of her organ building career. Right, so people have been mentioning a hum. I'll just turn that off, and I might just have improved it, because that power supply sits above the microphone. It's been running the supplementary deviation meter in recent days, whilst it hasn't been 100% reliable on the main test set. Our main power supply, I've stamped out some round, quite thick felt buffers over in the organ workshop. I'm going to switch that on, and so at the moment we've got no power supplies on. I'm going to switch on the main power supply, 13.8 volts, there we go, on. Now if I switch on the other power supply, which doesn't have any feet other than what it came with, I think you'll find that's the one causing the hum. And I'll turn it back off again because we're only going to need it at a particular point. So, switch the set on. He promises me the transmit light works on this, because it's quite a faff to do. We've got the power supply. So I'm going to plug the PA speaker in. The way Maxon have done this isn't ideal by a long way. When you use PA, it comes out of both speakers. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2 1 2. So we've got it coming out of the PA speaker. We've got it coming out of the extension speaker, which is very far from ideal. You don't want that to be happening. And you're going to get feedback. So if you want it to only come out of the PA speaker, you've got to go to the trouble of unplugging the other speaker, which is frustrating. At least the volume control is active on these sets, because quite a few sets in PA have uncontrollable volume. I think he's supposed to be using a microphone with some kind of volume control. Absolutely bizarre. Right, so let's get straight into this, and we'll switch picture in picture on. And let's look at. I can't see any power. What am I not plugged in? Oh, it's still in PA. That's why. Channel 20, high power. It's beyond 3 watts. It is 2.8. It's 3 watts exactly. Sorry about using a second-hand form. Channel 40, 2.8 watts, and channel 1, 2.6. So it needs balancing better, to be honest, and coming up. Low power should be 400 milliwatts. Wow, 390 milliwatts. How good's that? Transmit current back onto high power, and it's 1 amp. Nice round figure. Deviation Wallow. It's 3.4, so that needs to come down. I think the golden screwdriver's been in this. We don't do the VCO unless there's a fault, because you've got to add components. These are manufactured on a pin jig. You never know, the really early one might have the components, but we're not going to bother. Frequency. We're back on channel 1. Let's go to channel 20. 2779075. 2779075. So that's so low that it's beginning to just be noticeable that it's off frequency. It's not illegally off frequency, but it's noticeably off frequency. So we'll set the signal generator to the same. So 79. Yep, there we go. So that now matches. Hopefully we can get some readings. So that's 1 microvolt. Let's go over to the cyanide meter, which the poltergeist keeps moving, or the mice. Sounds like its detector's out, to be honest. Sounds a bit distorted. And that's the thing that drifts the most on these sets. It's 1.95, and that's not good. Should be around 1 or better. Not 1.567, 1.85. It will do 20, which surprises me. At 2.7. Squelch at full. Is, so that's 301.8 millivolts. 1.8 millivolts. That's tight, and that's threshold. I've printed off an earlier version of this in error. Right, we'll now go to minimum squelch. So we'll put the signal generator to standby. So we'll just put that on there. Red light shows we're on standby. We're at 0.3 of a microvolt. Set the squelch on the radio. Switch the signal generator back on. It's not that good. 1.8 microvolts, not millivolts. So, staying with the receive, what's S9? Well, there's S9 on my signal generator, and it's showing 7. Now, this will not be adjustable, I don't expect. It really doesn't matter. How many pounds am I pushing? It really doesn't matter. The answer is loud and clear. It is 1/300. Just work this out. So we're on the 1 scale. So it's 440 microvolts, which I put in the wrong box. Meter lamp works, switches work, pots work, sockets work, PA function works. Mic works, and that's a rarity, isn't it? I'm going to go to a standard replacement at the end, because really need to compare. You don't get those very often. The radios came with a 2-year warranty, the mic came with no warranty. Right. Transmit. Let's see what the meter says. It says 4. Which is obviously wrong because the radio's doing 3. Right. Let's get on with it. VCO's never been touched, that's brilliant. I'll tell you what, let's put it on frequency first. Because it's far enough out that it may affect things. Go over to that camera. Okay, so that's as high as it's going because of crystal dropping with age. That's absolutely fine. I mean, it's what is it, away from where it should be. It's so minute. Not bad for 42-year-old set. Not bad at all. I don't think they were supposed to last this long. And I can't see current models lasting anything like this length of time. We're already seeing those teeny weeny sets in the scrap box. Okay, so let's see if we can just bring that up. I'm going to start on the 3 watt scale because it's just easier for me to see the differences. That's the first one, which has been slightly out. So we're still at the same power level. Now we start to move. So I go into the 30 watt range. So we're now looking for about there. So we're at 3.5 watts there. It's nice condition, this set internally. There we are, full 4 watts. So we'll just check the other channel. I want it to be within 0.1. Channel 40. I could say 3.99. And I could say it's 4.05 on. So 4.05. I go put 3.97. So let's go back to channel 20 and we'll see what the current consumption is. Now it's now 1.1 amps. And low power will no doubt need adjusting. Yeah, because it's now 460 milliwatts. I just love that these sets have low power, and it's such a feature that I miss, especially when you're driving in a convoy and you're not trying to blow each other's windows out. Good, 400 milliwatts. So that's another thing done. 400. So deviation, whilst the test set's not playing up. Wow, that needs to come down. Let's get the little oscillator. Wallow. That's it. I could say there's a possible peak of 2.6 there, but 2.2 to 2. I'll put 2.55. I'll tell you what I will do. I'll get another mic out. I'd hate it to be wrong on a different mic. We'll try it on the one made up for Commtron. In fact, we'll use this now. Wow, yeah, it's a little bit too high. I need to backtrack now on the other one we did for him, because I never thought of doing this. And it's great having the original mic, but he needs to be using a replacement mic and putting that back in the box for posterity. Wow, look at that spot on there. I'll just put that across there. And we'll take that to a 0. Okay, let's have a look at this. Oh, we've got to do the power meter, haven't we? It needs to read 4. This is relative to SWR. It's not pre-programmed like these current sets. We're on low power. Just go to high. That's the nearest we can get it. Good. Maximum scope of adjustment. That also applies to that. Okay, let's go over to the receiver. 100 microvolts on the test set. We'll switch the oscilloscope on, which the poltergeist also moved. Oh, I'll never get this right, will I? It's like the golden shot for those who had a telly in '74. Up a bit, down a bit, fire. Right, detector. You know what? It's not out. It's not. So the IF must be out. So we're going to start off at that end. So we're going to have a synod meter over at the 12 and just try and deal with the IF. So let's look at this one, doing them in reverse order. That's the one. That's the one caught napping. Miles out. Let's do that one. Miles out as well. Let's go back to that one. Just check the detector again. I won't show you I won't switch it over to the oscilloscope. I'm just being very precautionary. Okay, so that's where our problem was. So now we've got the front end to do, which will drop to 4 dB-ish. So it wasn't the front end that was out, it was the IF. See where we are now with the sensitivity. Well, actually this one works better than his dad's. Not that it's going to make any difference in reality, because the receive on this one is 0.86 of a microvolt. Let's go with the attenuator so you can see what I'm doing. So we're on 1 and between 8 and 9, so it's 0.86. For 10 dB, it's 0.8. For 20, this is pretty good. It is 1.1. Yeah, 1.1. And this should have brought the squelch in better, but we will be adjusting it, of course. So full squelch, I want it to be S9, so 3, 10, 30, 100's my target. It hasn't come in. Let's adjust the squelch. There we go. That's now too slack. I think that's possibly dirty, and that's probably the problem. That's it, 100 microvolts. Okay. Now we'll see where the sensitivity is. So turn the signal generator back to standby. Set the squelch on the radio. Switch the signal generator back on. 1 microvolt. That's all good. Now, I got an extra preset here. Is that the S meter then on this version? Let's put the radio on 100 microvolts and see. It is. It doesn't quite go where we want, but that's an improvement. So we now have an S9 of 210 microvolts. That's not way out at all. Fantastic. Well, we're done, and that's worked out a really nice set. So between being off frequency, the IF being wildly out, the power being a watt low, the deviation being too loud, so too loud, it's width of signal, isn't it? But it does affect the volume on receive. So all we've got to do is to put the lid back on it. So the last one was a November build, which didn't have the S meter preset. This is an October build, so very early, and this one does have the preset. And yet later production it's tacked on the back of the meter, so I'm not quite sure what they were doing, apart from building tens of thousands of CB sets with lots of different makes on them. Let's just take the extension speaker out. That sounds alright. So this is slightly better than the other set. And this is the one that was working crummy. There we go. Now I'm just going to verify the deviation on the test set behind me, just in case my test set was playing shenanigans and I hadn't noticed it. It appears to be absolutely spot on today. One on a Roger. Not much background noise, although watching the Coronation. Well, 19 a Roger. Well, it's a day for good range. There you go, that's a very nice set, and we'll do an on-the-air test later on. It'll go on Mr. Chivy's bench and get that power lead improved. Well, and get it done right. Thanks for watching the Commtron CB40F, the early version. Not seen that one before.